Every year, thousands of workers are injured in job-related accidents involving hand tools. Many injuries are permanent, and some even result in death. In addition to the toll and pain and suffering, there are heavy financial costs in these accidents. Medical bills, time off work, and lost production all add up to huge costs for both companies and employees. What's especially troubling about such accidents is that nearly all of them are avoidable, if only certain precautions had been taken. For hand tools, 3 important points should be remembered. Use the right tools for the job. Use high-quality tools that are not worn or broken. And use those tools the way they were intended to be used. Wright goes to great lengths to design and manufacture quality hand tools to help you do your work safely and efficiently. There is no one tool that can do everything. Some people think this is it. But as versatile as this wrench is, it does not have the strength to install, let alone remove, tight fasteners. It is very apt around the corners of fasteners, which may make them hard to remove, even with the proper wrench. This wrench does have its place. Wright sells thousands of them, but you should know what to use when you need more than this. If you overload an adjustable wrench, or any other wrench beyond its particular strength, you risk injuring yourself, risk damaging the fastener, and risk delaying the job. Once the fastener is damaged, it may be difficult to remove even with the proper wrench because of rounded corners. Let's highlight some general safety tips that apply to every workplace. Some may seem obvious, but you'd be surprised how many workers ignore these simple practices. First, work in a properly lit area. Keep your work area uncluttered, and be sure to wipe up any spills, such as oils or lubricants. Never rush a job. Don't sacrifice safety for convenience. You can still be productive without being in a hurry. Turn off power when working near electrical lines, and lock the box so no one can turn the power back on while you're still working. Always wear safety goggles when using any kind of hand tool. Wear proper work clothing. That includes a hard hat, work gloves, and steel-toed footwear. Make sure your clothing isn't too loose so it won't get caught on tools, on workbenches, or in machinery. Select the proper tool and size for the job and use it correctly. Tools are designed for specific jobs. Use the right tool. Inspect your tools regularly for damage and replace those that are no longer usable. If a wrench is bent, cracked, or severely worn, throw it away. Never expose a wrench to excessive heat. Heat can change the hardness and metal structure and ruin the tool. Maintain and store your tools safely. Keep them clean and well oiled. Follow the manufacturer's instructions and warnings. And finally, follow your employer's rules for workplace safety. Most of these safety practices should go without saying, but workers are injured because rules are not always followed. Let's start with socket wrenches because these are the basic tool of the professional mechanic, and they come in the widest variety. Most sockets are made in 3 drive sizes. For example, the 7/8 inch opening socket is available in 3/8 inch drive, 1/2 inch drive, and 3/4 inch drive. The 7/8 inch socket in the 3/8 inch drive is not only a weaker socket than the 1/2 inch drive, but the strength of this socket exceeds the strength of the 3/8 inch drive square, as shown by the horizontal line on the graph. This is fine if the required torque is not high, but it's unsatisfactory for heavy loads. The 1/2 inch drive is stronger and longer handles are available. The extra long ratchet and the long flex handle provide even more torque. The 3/4 inch drive is stronger still and is preferred for use on fasteners that are grade 8 or stronger. There are many different socket choices, even in the same size. Likewise, there is a wide selection of handles available, each designed for a specific job. There are 2 common types of sockets, hand and impact, both of which are different in design and hardness. Hand sockets usually have a bright finish, although some may have a black finish. Impact sockets always have a black finish and thicker walls. Hand sockets should never be used on power drives or impact wrenches. Since detachable socket wrenches provide a wide combination of handles, attachments, and sockets, it is possible to assemble a proper tool for almost any type of service within the tool's capacity. As with other wrenches, never use a pipe extension or other form of cheater to increase the leverage of a socket wrench, and always select a socket with an opening that fits the nut exactly. Follow the manufacturer's instructions for tightening torque. Fasteners that are too loose or too tight can come apart or break. Hardened fasteners are the most sensitive because they might not give before breaking. The force to remove a fastener that has been properly tightened will be between 2 and 6 times the tightening force. Conditions such as rust, prior damage to the corners of the fastener, or a worn wrench will all complicate matters. In all cases, the upper end of each socket range is limited by the strength of the drive square. Each drive has its own strength limit, as shown by this graph. For a 1-inch drive, impact guns or slugging wrenches may be required for maximum tightening or loosening torque, especially loosening torque. Use an impact gun to loosen a fastener that is too tight to be removed with a 3/4 inch drive handle and hand application. When using an impact socket, be sure to use a ret ring or a pin and O-ring combination to secure the socket to the impact gun. This will prevent the socket from flying off the impact gun and possibly injuring a worker or damaging equipment. As an alternative, you can use a slugging wrench. This is a much easier and safer way to loosen a tight fastener than with 2 workers and a pipe. It is extremely important that one use the correct size socket on a fastener. New wrench designs, such as the Wright drive, help to compensate for variation in fastener size, but only within the range of one size of fastener. They do not compensate for the wrong size wrench or for using an inch wrench on a metric fastener or a metric wrench on an inch fastener. Both are always wrong. Most metric sockets have a distinctive line or other marking to distinguish them from inch sockets. Large numbers indicating size also make it easier to tell the two apart. Your best protection on this is the feel. Feel the amount of play between the wrench and the fastener. If it doesn't feel right, it's not the right tool. And remember, a wrench may be worn oversized so that it no longer fits any fastener. Just because a wrench was once 7/8 inch size, it may not be today. If it is worn oversized, discard it before you have an injury or destroy a fastener. 12-point fasteners are always high strength and high torque, whereas 6-point fasteners may be high, medium, or low strength. Of course, there are still lower strength copper and brass fittings for electrical work. Sockets require handles, and there are several types available. These include reversible ratchet, flex handle, sliding T, bull bar, and twin flex. Reversible ratchets are rated among the strongest hand tool drivers in their respective drive sizes. They are designed to interchange with the full range of all accessories and socket hand tools in their respective drive sizes. Although a ratchet is as strong as any other handle, it does not provide the leverage of a long flex handle in either the 1/4, 3/8, or 1/2 inch drive. Flex handles become less practical in the 3/4 inch and 1 inch drive, where the bull bar provides more torque. An impact gun provides even more torque. Do not use a pipe or other improvised leverage extension on handles. Use a larger drive or longer handle. Avoid using adapters. You build up tremendous torque potential when adapting down with a big handle and small socket. If adapting up with a small handle and big socket, stay within the safe limits at the handle. The smaller handle might not deliver enough torque to properly tighten the fastener. There are many useful handle attachments. These include extension bars, adapters, flexible joints, and socket bits, such as hex, slotted, and Phillips screw. Periodic cleaning and inspection of handles, sockets, and attachments is very important. Repairs should be made with the manufacturer's own parts. Handles and attachments with cracks or worn points should be thrown away. Now let's take a look at safety practices when using wrenches, specifically box, open-end, and combination wrenches. There is a wrench made for almost any job imaginable. Even though two different wrenches are the same size and have the same general characteristics, each is different in the details of design, material, heat treating, finishing, and application. Tools also differ in how much they've been used and how well they've been cared for. Even the best made tool is no longer a good tool if it is badly worn or cracked from previous use. If possible, always pull rather than push on a wrench handle, and adjust your stance so you won't fall if the tool releases suddenly. The safest wrench is an enclosed box wrench. These are stronger and have less chance of slipping off the fastener. To free a frozen nut or bolt, use a striking face box wrench or a heavy-duty box or socket wrench. Applying penetrating oil on both the nut and threads will also make it easier to loosen. Never use a pipe extension or other form of cheater to increase the leverage of a wrench. Never use a hammer on any wrench except for a striking face wrench. This type of wrench is designed to be used with a sledge-type hammer. Finally, do not grind or machine a wrench to alter its shape. Buy the right wrench and use it. The different types of box wrenches include ratcheting for light-duty use, structural, and striking face for heavy-duty. Split box and flare nut wrenches are for tubing fitting and should not be used for general nut and bolt use or high-torque applications. Flare nut or tubing wrenches are used for hydraulic, pneumatic, and fuel fittings. Where the greater circumferential contact the wrenches provide over an open-end wrench reduces the chance of distorting the fittings. This in turn reduces the chance of leakage, which is particularly important to contain refrigeration gases and high-pressure hydraulic fluid. Open-end wrenches are usually made with openings at a 15-degree angle, permitting complete rotation of hex nuts with a 30-degree swing by flopping the wrench. Construction wrenches have a drift handle for aligning bolt holes. Structural wrenches have a straight opening and an offset handle. Open-end wrenches are not as strong as the corresponding sizes of box or socket wrenches and are not intended for heavy loads. They will spread when overloaded. Do not use an open end to free a frozen fastener or to final tighten a hex nut. Use a box wrench. And never cock an open-end wrench. Be sure the nut or bolt head is fully seated. Combination wrenches are two tools in one, a box wrench on one end and an open-end wrench on the other. The box opening adds to the versatility and strength. They are the first choice for most loosening and tightening jobs. Again, always use the box end of a combination wrench to loosen frozen fasteners and to final tighten nuts. There are four main types of torque wrenches: beam type, dial type, micrometer adjustable type, and electronic. A torque wrench is a precision instrument used to measure resistance to turning, that is, torque. It is typically used to tighten fasteners. For tightening all high-strength fasteners and all critical applications where failure of the joint could produce a safety hazard, you should use a torque wrench. Always use the recommended torque. And remember that over-tightening can be just as bad as under-tightening. When using a torque wrench, always apply a slow, steady pull. When tightening a series of fasteners, tighten in specified sequence and only to 80% of the final torque. Then go over the fasteners a second time to set the final torque. On flanges and other joints where several fasteners carry the load, the fasteners must be equally tight and the proper tightening pattern followed. This will almost always require at least 2 tightenings of every fastener. If this is not done, the fastener carrying the largest load is likely to be overloaded, causing it to stretch or break. This in turn puts more load on the remaining fasteners. Eventually, each of these will also break until the whole part fails. When using a torque wrench, be sure the fasteners are new and the threads are clean and lubricated with oil or a coating. Torque wrenches should be checked frequently, at least once a year, for accuracy by a certified analyzer. Do not store torque wrenches with other tools, and always store micrometer wrenches at the lowest torque setting. That's the basics on proper use and safety for wrenches, sockets, and ratchets. If you follow these practices and use plain old common sense, you should prevent accidents and still perform your job efficiently. Your safety ultimately depends on the precautions you take before, during, and after you use your tools. Once again, the three main points to remember are: 1. Use the right tool for the job. 2. Use only high-quality tools that are not worn, broken, or damaged. And 3. Use your tools the way the manufacturer intended them to be used. More information can be found on pages 335 to 337 of the Wright Tool Catalog, as well as in the Hand Tool Institute Safety Book. Wright stock number 9301. For other questions on tool safety practices or to learn more about the products of Wright Tool, call 1-800-321-2902.